All right, so at the end of the last video, I asked you guys to download the desktop application, which you guys already should have had done for the architecture video, and then connect to our demo system. There are two ways to connect to the demo system. You can connect directly, or you can connect via cloud. Let me show you real fast. So open up NX Witness. Skip out of that. Log into cloud is the first way. So you put in the demo at networkoptix.com user. You get NX, then you use the NX demo user password, and you will see there is a demo system that you connect to. Now, one thing that the client does, I've got the beta version installed. If you're connecting to a system with a different version, it'll actually restart into a compatible version. If you don't have that compatible version on your computer, it'll download it and then open it up for you. So it's a way to be able to interact with different types of systems running different versions of the software. So once I've logged in, that's one way I can connect is via cloud, right? So when I switched over, because I was on the 4.0 beta, it kicked me out. So now I can disconnect. When you go in and you've logged into cloud, anything that with a cloud icon on it is going to be something that's cloud accessible. Anything that's local, like the new server that's been set up here, my office demo system hasn't been set up yet, is a 3.2 version. It will show up without a cloud icon. So something to keep in mind. Another way to connect to the demo system is to actually go up here to the top, go connect to server, and then put in the publicly accessible IP address, or if you set up like port forwarding and a dynamic DNS service, you can do the same thing, and you can use your cloud credentials to log in locally, or you can use local credentials. So I've logged in locally in this method, right? So that's the two ways you can connect to a system, right? So once you've done that, feel free to play around with the demo system as I'm going over the different features and see if you can find the features. If you can't find the features, we have a full set of videos online that explain the features, and of course you can go to the support portal to review the features. So just for everyone's just to show you where it is, just to make sure, support.networkoptix.com, and then you're going to want to click on NX Witness VMS. You're not an agent, so you're not going to see this. So NX Witness VMS, and then you can go and look at the desktop application to see all the different types of features that come with the desktop as we're reviewing them. So on to the presentation about NX Desktop, right? So again, NX Desktop is a flexible media player for Windows, Ubuntu, Linux, and Mac OS X. It's really what I call a situational awareness dashboard, in that you can combine information from system resources, and like cameras and offline video files and web pages and I/O devices together with like online information sources using web pages to kind of create a dashboard for yourself to see what's going on with your area of concern, right? Some key points about operating systems. Windows OS is by far the most popular OS used to run NX Witness. If you click on that link there, you'll go to the anonymous statistics report where we kind of outline the different versions of OSs that are used, or the different operating systems that are used with our software. And Windows by far is the most popular, followed by Linux, Ubuntu Linux, and then Mac is the last. New OS releases may introduce some unforeseen bugs, so if Windows comes out with new patches, or if Windows comes out with a new version and you install that and you try and put NX Witness on it, you may have bug issues. But if that's the case, just let our support know, and we'll usually either publish a patch that addresses the issue, or it'll be something that's supported in the next release version. You should always check the support portal for the latest operating system support when you're designing a system, to make sure you're putting together all the computing technology you need to run a system. The desktop has a 4-panel design. On the left side, you have your resource panel. which is system resources. On the top you have navigation, which has your tabbed layouts, your main menu, your cloud connection, and your help manual. The notifications bar has a big upgrade in 4.0, so that's what you're looking at right here. It's a little bit different than what you see in 3.2. It's got motion detection, bookmarks, it's got plugin events for analytics. It's got system health events, which is what the exclamation point is. Right? Some of the key points about the desktop: usability. The desktop was designed to be what we call instantly usable, which means it requires little to no training to use it at an advanced level. The UX philosophy here at NX is driven by three traits. It should be fast, it should be instantly usable, and it should be extremely customizable. So with that in mind, everything in the interface is drag and drop. You have your notifications panel. On the right, you've got adaptive playback when you're reviewing recorded video, so it'll pull in depending on what your network and CPU usage is. You got customizable layouts. You've got the ability to add a background to a layout to create a digital map. And then, of course, adaptive scaling technology to keep it nice and snappy. Key points with regards to managing resources. This is really for administrators, but you have the ability to go in and change the settings for the IP cameras that are connected. You can add and manage RTSP and HTTP and UDP streams. You can add I/O devices and interact with those I/O devices with toggle push buttons. Web pages and URLs. You can add web pages and URLs. One thing to consider with web pages and URLs is that any sort of special plugins that may need to run, like JavaScript stuff, may not work properly in our browser because our browser is somewhat limited by the framework we use. So definitely test your browser-based interfaces before you deploy them, just to make sure everything works properly, and let us know if you have any specific issues. Recorded video files and static image files as well are considered resources. Configuration is one of the key kind of things that you do with the NX desktop client. So it's a unified interface for both operators and administrators. So if you've got admins are able to see everything in the system. They're able to change anything in the system. So if you give someone admin access, they basically have the keys to break the system. If you create operators and operator roles, we'll go over user management later, then you have the ability to really limit what they can and can't impact, the settings they can change, all that kind of good stuff. Device management, manage your devices, manage your servers, manage your storage setup. These are all the configuration parts of the desktop interface that you should check out. In general, the more access a user, one last point. The more access rights the user has, the more of the interface they're going to have access to. So the lowest level of access rights is live viewer. And what that means is they can log in and view live footage from cameras you've assigned to them. The highest level is, of course, administrator. And then there's everything in between, which can be set up with custom roles. Search. So there's several different search mechanisms in the client. Some of them are for video. Some of them are for finding resources. Keyword search is really for finding resources. Really quickly identifying or just looking for cameras based off of their manufacturer, their name, their IP address, even their MAC address, right? Also for offline video files and images, web pages, all that kind of good stuff. When you do a keyword search, it's going to bring in everything that you're searching for into the viewing grid for you so you could find it. Time slice search, or also called preview search, allows you to cut through video. So if you look at 5 minutes of video, when you right click on it, it'll drill down and split that up evenly into like 9 or 10 different videos, and then you can drill down into those even further and it'll split it again. Splits it all the way down to 10 seconds. Really useful for searching for specific events where you got like a lot of motion in a camera. Let's say a computer has been stolen off a desk. You got lots of people walking around that desk. Well, if you use time slice search, you can find the section of the video where that computer disappears, and then you can run search again, smart search, and look for motion specifically around the computer to see when the computer disappeared. Bookmarks allow you to create bookmarks on the timeline. So you can go in and tag specific segments of video, which can later be searched and recovered and played back and exported and a bunch of other things. Bookmarks can be created manually by the operator. They can also be created automatically with rules in the engine, in the rules engine. For audit trail is just basically a list of all the operator actions in the system. So what operators are looking at, the updates they've made to devices, basically everything. So it's useful for identifying abuse in the system or for reviewing like operator reactions to like specific events that have occurred. Hardware requirements are very important for the client. Make sure you're putting the client on a piece of hardware that's going to be able to run it in a decent manner, right? So the minimum supported specs are hard drive, 2 gigs of RAM, quad-core Intel Celeron CPU. That's what we recommend as a minimum. You can run it on something lighter than that. It's probably not going to run super well just because of the limited resources. You need Intel HD Graphics 3000 with OpenGL 2.1 for support. Then you need a networking card, right? Because you can't view video without a network. Performance specs, higher end SSD, 16 gigs of RAM, Intel Core i5, like a quad core or higher is generally okay. Maybe even a little higher if you can afford it, or the customer can afford it. We've got a graphics card, NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050 with OpenGL 2.1 support. That's really for keeping the computer running quickly no matter what you're running on it. Because the reality is that the NX desktop client does not use the GPU. It uses the CPU. The only thing we use GPU for is YUV rescaling. So when you grab a camera, let's see if I can show you guys real fast. When you grab a camera and pull it in, and I start to move that camera, we use the GPU to basically render out that object while I'm moving it. Is the best way to explain it. But that's really all we use it for. And that's why the graphics requirements are so low for the client. Everything's happening on the CPU. And CPUs these days are pretty powerful. So SSDs will always give you more speed just because they make your computer run faster. For calculating how much RAM you're gonna need, we say one camera is about 40 megabytes of RAM. So like basically when cameras are being stored, it's buffering 40 megabytes. This is really more for the server application, but for calculating out the RAM for your client, you can do the same thing. The more cameras you have, the more RAM, the better your system's going to perform. Some unique capabilities. So there's 3 different desktop modes for the client. You've seen the media player. You should have connected to the demo system, so you should now see the connected client version of it, which is what I just had up. And then there's video wall mode. And the video wall mode is you put the client into video wall mode. You basically can create a new video wall. See here. And I'm not logged in. I'm logged in as a demo user right now. Let me log out and log in as a system administrator. So if I'm logged in as system administrator and I've got video wall licenses, then I can go up here to the top, new, create video wall. And you can see I don't have enough licenses for it at the moment. So when I create a video wall, it's just going to ask me to attach monitors on this computer to that video wall. And then once I've done that, I can put the client into video wall mode, and it becomes a monitor just waiting for operators to control it. And then basically it scales up at 2 monitors at a time. 1 license for video wall is good for 2 monitors. So those are the 3 modes for the client. Video wall, there's a really good explanation on YouTube, which you guys should check out. Switching between languages, there is multilingual support. We have support for like 20 plus languages. Every kind of release adds some additional languages generally as we enter new markets. But the way that you switch languages in the client is pretty straightforward. You go to your local settings dialog and you click on the look and feel, and you can change the language to all these different languages here. When you change the language, you're going to have to restart the client if you want to view it in that language. The other thing, you got show reels. Show reels are a fully customizable viewing sequence of any resource, and those allow you to go in and set up specific show reels. So if I go in here, I can see I've got a fixed layout, the IT room, and Olive. They're each displaying for 5 seconds. When I run a show reel, it's just going to start running those show reels. It'll run 5 seconds at a time, each layout, just like I told it to. And you can combine live cameras, you can combine recorded footage or web pages in here as well. So it can be used for like advertising in a grocery store in combination with showing you we're looking at you. So there's lots of different things you can do with Showreel. Customizable rebranding. You can customize the NX Witness desktop background. So for customers who are trying to give their customers kind of a unique experience, they can go in here, go into local settings, and then click on the look and feel, and then you can add a background image. So you can see here I've got Seagate, Skyhawk Health Monitor just appeared. When I do a background image on my client, on this client, it only applies to this client, but it'll stay that way. It's the background image. So if you want to put your company's logo on the back, you can for system operators, right? Or your customer's logo if you're an integrator and you're delivering this to your customer, right? Or maybe your logo if you want to promote your integration company. Drag and drop reassignment. You know, everything in NX Witness Desktop has been designed to be drag and drop, including reassigning cameras to servers. So if I want to move Burbank Office Fisheye from an NX2 to the NX3, then I just drag it over and it starts recording here. On the client side, we don't care where the recording is on which server. It will always be played back seamlessly. For, let's see, other things. Keyword search, we already went over. Flex timeline, we went over. Event log is something that everybody has access to if they've got the rights. So they got the ability to come in here and look at the specific events that are happening in the system. That's available under System Administration and Event Log. So you can go in and look at individual events for different devices. You can filter by device, by action, by type of event, by date. So it's a good way to search the system based off of events. Smart Motion we went over briefly. Basically select individual pixels to search for when people arrive. For example, if I search here for InkFon, you can see on the timeline now anywhere that InkFon has motion at his desk, right? And then bookmarks we went over. Cool. So supported media playback and control. It is a media player. It has the ability to, the NX Desktop as a media player has the ability to view lots and lots of different types of codecs for live streaming and for offline media files. All this information is up to date on the spec sheets, which are available in MyNX or on the networkoptix.com website. We won't go over this specifically because it may change over time, but there's the different codecs we support, control devices, we've got I/O devices, and server health monitoring as well, browser support, built-in browser. So just to review, architectural limitations again, because we're still in the design part. System has 1,000 resources, 1,000 users, 10,000 resources, or 100 server. For desktop, your maximum number of cameras on a layout are 64, same as items on layout, and you're required to have OpenGL 2.1 Intel HD graphics, and we recommend 2 gigabits of RAM as a minimum. So, as part of the next exercise, go ahead and download this server application and install it on your machine. Right, you're going to go to the same spot that we did to download the desktop. You're going to pick the same OS if you're on a single computer, and you're going to pick the server application and put it on your system. And I want you to try and create a system and log in, see if you can do it. We haven't given you training on how to do it yet. That's all right. See if you can do it. Go to your system administration and go to licenses and try and activate your trial license, and then try and get one of your cameras recording on your machine, and then we'll come back and talk about the server application.